The Nintendo Switch released in 2017, and here in 2024, the console is still going strong. So strong, in fact, that one wouldn't think a successor is on the way, but one definitely is, as Nintendo themselves have confirmed. And this video is going to discuss our 5 biggest hopes for the Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever it's called. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Beth, the one and only.
When it comes to consoles, the Nintendo Switch is certainly a titan. In fact, currently, it's the second best-selling console of all time, and it's well on its way to being the best-selling console of all time, even dethroning the legendary PS2.
May it rest in peace.
The reason for the Nintendo Switch's success is no big mystery. It's the first of its kind. It is the hybrid console, the console that is both a handheld and a console. And it allows us to have some pretty stellar gaming experiences as well. In fact, when it came out in 2017, I was personally blown away by the fact that I could play a game as big as Breath of the Wild on the go. It was really quite amazing, and many people felt similarly. This was a long time before the Steam Deck launched. And all these years later, the console has brought us some amazing gaming memories, and we can only hope that its successor is just as awesome as it is. So without further ado, here are our top 5 wants for the Nintendo Switch successor.
The Nintendo Switch is a great console in a lot of ways, but one way it falls short is video capture. This console is only capable of capturing 30 seconds of clips and has a resolution of 720, whereas the PS5 is capable of capturing an hour of clips and has a beautiful 1080p.
While that 30 seconds may be sufficient for capturing a funny moment here and there, or for capturing that really cool finisher you did on a particular boss, it's not really sufficient for most things, especially if you're a YouTuber. So something we would really like to see in the next Nintendo console is a better built-in video capture. Something more similar to what we see in the PS5, where we have up to an hour of video and 1080p resolution. That would be really nice to have on a Nintendo platform, and it would make life a lot easier for YouTubers. This should be a relatively easy thing for Nintendo to incorporate, and we really hope that it's something they're at least considering, especially when you consider how easy it would be to add in if they are upgrading the hardware the way that it's rumored. But that's something we'll discuss a little bit later in the video. One area the Nintendo Switch also could have done a little bit better in is customization. When it comes to our Nintendo profiles or even the basic home screen of the Switch, there's very little we can do to customize the look of it. In fact, the Switch can only alternate between its black and white backgrounds, and that's it. We would really like to see something similar to what existed on other consoles like the PS3 and the PS4, where you can have customized backgrounds. This is also a feature that other competing consoles are lacking in, including the PS5, and we hope that the Switch 2 will be the first one to bring this back. More customization is always a good thing. While the original Switch was very impressive in 2017, it is definitely dated by today's standards, and the next Nintendo Switch is going to need a pretty substantial upgrade if it is to keep up with today's very fast-paced technology.
Nintendo used to be cutting edge, but not so much anymore. When the Wii came around, that's when things changed for Nintendo, and they started taking a more stylized approach to graphics, which I guess is good. It does benefit them, especially in this day and age, being that game development is so bloated and crazy expensive.
I don't think anyone expects this new Nintendo console to be on par with, say, the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, but I think it needs to be closer. Something around where maybe the PS4 Pro would be a good ideal for the Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be called. It would allow Nintendo to have a lot more breathing room with open world titles like Tears of the Kingdom, and it would also allow them to give fans the ever coveted 60 frames per second a lot more often. In the past, we've seen Nintendo embrace backwards compatibility sometimes. The Wii was compatible with the GameCube, the DS Lite was compatible with Game Boy Advance games, the 3DS was compatible with DS games. We hope that the Switch follows this trend, and when it has a successor, that successor is compatible with the Switch's games. The Switch has an absolutely amazing library of first-party Nintendo titles, and we would really hate to say goodbye to those when the new console comes out. We hope that the new console can play every Switch game out there. Quite frankly, in my opinion, anything less would be unacceptable. Backwards compatibility for this console should be easy, and I hope they even take it a step further. I would like to see more N64 games or more GameCube games on the store. I know that currently you can stream these games via the Nintendo Switch Online service, but I think a lot of people agree with me that it would be nice to actually be able to own these titles again and not just stream them.
I'd really love to see it. I would really love to see less known titles not fade into the sands of time. However, there's a few problems with that. One of which, it's more profitable to sell a remake or a port versus playing an old game. Backwards compatibility. It's not as profitable as it is to just remake it.
And I don't want to hear any excuses like, oh, Nintendo couldn't get N64 or GameCube or even Wii games to be compatible with their new consoles. They most certainly could, but I feel like they're just simply not doing it because they want to re-release or remake those games later. We have some backwards compatibility in the form of streaming, but we really don't want to stream those games. We really don't want to pay for a monthly subscription in order to play games we like. We would really like the option to just own these games, and I really hope Nintendo gives us that option.
And now, coming in at number 1 is Games for Forgotten Franchises.
While the Nintendo Switch did an amazing job with its games library, and I mean it did an amazing job, almost every Nintendo IP got so much love during this generation. We're talking more Mario than we know what to do with, more Legend of Zelda than we know what to do with, some amazing Pokemon games, some amazing Kirby games. However, there were a few franchises that were done dirty, for lack of a better word.
Star Fox, DK, and Kid Icarus, which strangely enough kinda sorta looks like Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
And those are just 3 notable examples. There's plenty of other Nintendo franchises that could be revived, like the Mother series. That one has been dormant for a really long time, or something like Diddy Kong Racing. I know a lot of people really like that one. When it comes to Donkey Kong, while it did get some ports on the Switch, Donkey Kong didn't see a single new game on the Switch. And that's really sad because a lot of people really love the Donkey Kong series, and why wouldn't they? It's a colorful world and it's got an awesome lead character.
Don't forget Diddy Kong, that's all I ask.
And while it was nice to see ports of Tropical Freeze and the upcoming Donkey Kong Country Returns, I think many of us agree that we are long overdue for a new Donkey Kong game. And I'm going to be bold in suggesting that this new Donkey Kong game should be a fully 3D title, because we haven't seen a fully 3D Donkey Kong in quite a while.
Yes, in quite a while. It's been quite a long time. It's been a very, very, very long time.
In fact, the only Donkey Kong game to feature 3D gameplay is Donkey Kong 64 all the way back on the Nintendo 64. And I think after all these years, a lot of Donkey Kong fans would be ready for the series to try 3D again. Of course, if the new Donkey Kong game ended up being a more classic style, that's fine too. Ultimately, we want Donkey Kong to get a new game. But I personally would really like to see the series take another crack at 3D.
I want a 3D game. I don't want anything else. I want a 3D game. I want to see what we can do.
Moving on to another series that we would like to see get some more love on Nintendo's new console is Kid Icarus. And Kid Icarus might be one of Nintendo's most neglected franchises ever. In fact, if you look at the series history of Kid Icarus, there's only 3 games there. The original on the NES from all the way back in 1986, as well as the sequel, Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, which was released in 1991, and finally, Kid Icarus Uprising, which was released in 2012. After all these years, there's only been 3 games, and the most recent one was from 12 years ago. I think that I'm very justified in saying Nintendo needs to give this series another entry, especially considering it has a lot of fans that are very passionate about it.
The sequel came out in 1991, and that was the year I was born. So, use your imaginations on that one, if you will.
And of course, another series we have is Star Fox. Now, this franchise isn't nearly as bad off as Kid Icarus. It certainly has a lot of games in its series, but it has been dormant for a while. Its most recent release being in 2016, 2017 if you count Star Fox 2 on the SNES Classic. So this means that Star Fox hasn't officially gotten a Switch game yet, and I know there's a lot of fans out there that would love to see a new Star Fox game on the new Nintendo console. Of course, we know that all of these games we mentioned are a gamble, and probably only some of them will come true, if any of them. But in general, we would like to see Nintendo pay just a little bit more attention to those few franchises that they neglected during the Switch era. And there you have it. Those are our 5 hopes for the new Nintendo console. The bar is very low for Nintendo here. Nintendo has been doing so great when it comes to the Switch, when it comes to releasing games people want, and just having a platform that people generally like. They don't really have to do much to succeed. However, if they do some of the things we've mentioned here, I think it will be pretty undeniable that the Nintendo Switch successor will be one of the best successors of all time.
And hopefully they'll shake it up a little bit with the name. I love Sony. I grew up with Sony mostly. Some Nintendo. Sony has been so bland. Like, they didn't do anything like Sega did, and certainly not what Nintendo did by changing up the name. They just add another number every single time. Frankly, I'm getting bored.
Unless you count the PS Vita, but we all know how that went.
They're not real good with the names. It doesn't stick.
But let us know what you guys think. Do you agree with our hopes for the next Nintendo console? And if you don't, what are your hopes? We'd love to hear them.
Yes, share your hopes and dream with us. And don't forget to feed the mammoth.
Yes, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
It'd really help us out, and we'd really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.